Welcome, story lovers. I'm your regular storyteller, here to help you drift into a peaceful sleep. Before we begin, make sure to like this video, share it, and subscribe for more stories that will help you drift off peacefully. Also, let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. And if there's any story you'd love to hear next, feel free to share it below. I woke up to someone whispering my name from the wrong side of my tent, close enough that the nylon dimpled inward with each syllable, and for a full 5 seconds I couldn't move because I'd gone to sleep alone in a stretch of state forest where the nearest campsite was supposed to be 2 miles away. My hand found the zipper pull by feel, and I stopped because I remembered the one rule I'd laughed at when I arrived, the one written in block letters on a damp scrap of paper I'd found nailed to the information board at the trailhead. If you hear your name after dark, don't answer it. I'd come out to the Alder Ridge backcountry loop because it was supposed to be quiet, a one-night reset before a week of overtime. I wanted cold air, a small fire, and the kind of silence that makes you notice your own thoughts. The trailhead was empty when I pulled in late afternoon, my tires crunching over gravel that looked newly raked. There was no ranger truck, no other cars, just the kiosk with laminated maps and a logbook in a plastic box where the pen bled as if it had been left open in the rain. The only thing that didn't fit the neatness of the signage was that scrap of paper with the rule on it, pinned under the corner of a glossy "Leave No Trace" poster. I remember smirking because it felt like someone trying to start a local legend, but I tore it off and folded it into my pocket anyway. I started down the trail with my pack settling into my shoulders. Alder Ridge isn't dramatic. It's long slopes, mixed hardwoods, and a creek that sounds like someone tearing paper slowly. The light was already slanting between trunks, and every time the wind moved, the leaves made a soft, dry applause. I hiked for about an hour before I noticed the first thing that felt off. There were trail markers on trees, the usual little colored rectangles, but on 3 separate trees I passed, the marker had been nailed on upside down, a mistake you don't make 3 times in a row. The deeper I got, the fewer signs of people there were. I crossed the creek on a narrow footbridge, and my ears popped slightly like I'd changed elevation more than I had. I realized I hadn't heard a bird in a while. The living background of the forest felt muted. Alder Flats showed up exactly where the map said it would. A broad clearing with a ring of stones, a few flat spots for tents, and the creek bending close. It was empty. It felt like arriving at a restaurant at dinner time and finding every table set, but no staff or customers. While I was staking down the corners of my tent, I found a length of bright orange cord tied around one stake point. It was tied neatly with a bow and pulled away from the stake toward the trees for about 2 feet before being cut cleanly. I tried building my fire, but this is where the first rule became real. I had dry tinder and a working lighter, but the flame caught and then went out as if someone had pinched it between fingers. No matter how many times I tried, the fire just wouldn't hold over the pit. I ate a cold dinner from a pouch, sitting on a log and listening to the creek. I catches myself glancing at the tree line, expecting something. I unfolded the scrap of rules and read it again in the fading light. The ink looked darker than I remembered, like it had soaked deeper into the fibers. I was drifting in my sleeping bag when I heard the first knock. One single hollow tap like someone hitting a tree trunk with the flat of their hand. Then another knock, same tone, and then a third. 3 knocks, evenly spaced. That's when the whisper at the tent wall began. "James! James!" The voice didn't sound like a stranger. It sounded like me, but flattened and wrong, like a recording played through cheap speakers. I held my breath, knowing that if I answered, I'd be agreeing to something. When I finally unzipped and stepped out at dawn, the clearing looked normal until I looked up. My orange cord, the frayed piece I'd put in my pocket, was tied neatly in a bow around the lowest branch of the tree directly above my tent. I headed back toward the trail and saw my footprints from the day before pressed into a muddy patch. Beside them, perfectly parallel, was a second set of prints, the same size and tread pattern as my boots. They started and ended exactly where mine did, like a shadow. I thought about the last rule. If you find a second set of your footprints, turn around. I didn't want to go deeper, but ignoring it felt like stepping over a line I couldn't see. I turned around slowly and walked back into Alder Flats. The clearing was no longer empty. There was an information board that hadn't been there yesterday. a weathered piece of plywood nailed between two posts. I walked to it, my heart beating faster, seeing a sheet of plastic stapled over a new set of typed rules. The typed page was titled Alder Flats Reminder. It listed rules about not building fires after sunset, not sleeping with your head toward the creek, and a warning, if you find orange cord, do not cut it. Someone had put this up overnight while I was sleeping. I walked back toward the trailhead, and when I reached the muddy patch, the second set of footprints was gone. Only mine remained. I crossed the bridge and followed the trail, trying to ignore the feeling that the forest was watching me. Then I saw the orange cord again, tied around a sapling. It wasn't just a marker, it was correcting the trail. At forks I didn't remember. The cord guided me. I felt like the forest was making choices on my behalf, using a language I was forced to understand. I came to a clearing with a dead tree in the center. Hanging from it was a sign in black paint, "Turn around." I touched the plywood. It was damp, the paint fresh. On the back was written, "We're trying to keep you on the right path." I turned around and soon found a tree with the original handwritten scrap of rules pinned to it with a thumbtack. I pulled my journal out of my pack. The paper was still inside. I was holding two identical copies of the same scrap. I saw a new line on the back of the paper. "If you take this, we will take something to remember you." I checked my gear and realized the disaster. My car key was gone. Just the key, clipped inside my pack, was missing. I saw a man in a gray hoodie sitting on a log. He looked at me with a calm, tired face. He told me the ridge takes what makes you think you can leave. He didn't look like a lunatic. He looked like someone who had been here a very long time. The man handed me a bundle of orange cord and told me to tie a bow on my pack. He said it helps them count me so they don't have to check. I tied the bow, feeling a chill that went deeper than the mountain air. As we walked through a narrow pass of boulders, the air turned cold and sound went wrong. I heard the whisper again everywhere at once. "James, James." The man lifted a hand to keep me silent as the forest practiced its one and only word. A fourth knock sounded loud and close. The man told me to push a tent stake into the ground to mark where I stood. He said if you don't give it something simple, it takes something complicated. I left the stake behind in the dirt. We reached the parking lot. My car was there, and hanging from my mirror was an orange bow with my car key dangling from it. I untied the bow gently, remembering the rule, "Do not cut it." The man vanished back into the trees without a word. Days later at home, I found a recording on my phone I never made, of my own voice reciting the rules. And in my journal, beneath my notes, was a sentence I hadn't written in a blocky, unfamiliar hand. "Thank you for learning." Now, I just wait for what it wants me to do next.